A wall that cost 500,000 lives to build. A wall that took 2,000 years to finish and along the way bankrupted empire after empire. Stretching across rivers, lakes, deserts, and mountains all the way to the sea, this isn't just the largest man made structure on the planet, it's one of the seven wonders of the world, and a masterpiece of engineering unlike anything else in history. Of course, we're talking about the Great Wall of China. Running for over 21,000 kilometers, this wall is just as mysterious as it is famous. So why was it really built? What's its strange connection to dragons? Why do some call it the biggest graveyard on Earth? And after 2 millennia of backbreaking labor, why do many historians still consider it a failure? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on all of it, so stick around till the end, because this one gets wild. Here's the first surprise. The Great Wall isn't one continuous wall at all. It's a patchwork of many separate sections, some running parallel to each other, scattered across the landscape in different directions. Add up every fragment and you get a total length of over 21,000 kilometers, roughly the distance of driving from the northern tip to the southern tip of India and back 3 times over. Much of the wall has crumbled with age, but in 1985, a man named Yang Hong and 2 friends walked the entire thing, end to end. It took them 510 days, roughly 17 months, battling brutal terrain the whole way. No one else has completed that full trek since. The wall runs along northern China, cutting through icy desert and stretching toward the Yellow River. Along its path sit towering mountains, sheer cliffs, parched desert, frozen wasteland, rivers, and lakes, nearly every extreme landscape nature has to offer. Winding through all of it, the wall almost seems to slither like a living creature. Maybe that's why the Chinese have another name for it, the stone dragon, believed to guard the land against foreign invaders. In fact, many people in China still hold on to an old legend that thousands of years ago, a dragon flew across the land and laborers built the wall by following the exact path it traced through the sky. In Chinese tradition, dragons aren't feared. They represent energy, radiance, and divine power. They're seen as protectors, symbols of vitality, wisdom, and good fortune, much like water sustains life. It's easy to see why the wall, something built to shield the nation from harm and preserve order, became tied to that same symbolism. But let's set the legends aside for a moment and look at what historians actually say about when construction began. Rewind the clock about 2,700 years, back to a time when farming communities in China's Shanxi region were irrigating their fields using water from the Yellow River. Back then, China's neighboring territories included Mongolia, Manchuria, and Xinjiang. Mongolia, in particular, had almost no fertile farmland, just thousands of kilometers of barren desert, so its people relied heavily on herding livestock instead. While the people of Shanxi lived in organized, settled communities, the Mongolian tribes were scattered and disorganized, frequently raiding Shanxi territory to steal goods and resources. To put a stop to these raids, the Chinese eventually united under a single ruler, marked out their borders, and decided to build a massive wall around them for protection. That ruler was Qin Shi Huang, China's first emperor, and in 223 BCE, he set construction of the Great Wall into motion. But a project this massive was far too big for any single dynasty to finish alone. It took the combined effort of multiple ruling dynasties across 2,000 years to complete it. Throughout that time, emperor after emperor brought in their era's finest engineers and architects, and more than 2 million laborers contributed to the effort over the centuries. To build the wall, Chinese dynasties conscripted enormous numbers of ordinary citizens and convicts too. Criminals were often sentenced to 4 years of forced labor on the wall as punishment. Today, if you look at the Great Wall, you'll notice sections cutting straight through dry desert and other sections climbing impossibly steep, narrow ridgelines surrounded by thick forest. Terrain that looks almost unclimbable even now. You can only imagine the suffering the original laborers endured building through landscapes like that. For 2,000 years, construction moved at a punishing pace. Workers often went years without seeing their homes or families. They labored 16 to 18 hours a day, yet were barely given enough food to survive. China's rulers of the time were notoriously harsh, and laborers were forced to sleep out in freezing conditions right beside the wall. Countless workers died from disease, others from starvation, and some simply fell into nearby ravines while working. But construction never slowed down for the dead. Workers weren't even carried to a nearby town for burial. Instead, they were buried in shallow graves right where they fell, along the wall itself. It's estimated that around 500,000 laborers lost their lives building the Great Wall, and many of their remains still lie buried beneath or beside it today. That's the grim reason some call it the largest graveyard in the world, and why some in China even consider the wall cursed, partly because so many ruling dynasties were financially ruined by the sheer cost of building it. Now, here's a question worth asking. Thousands of years before cement even existed, how did anyone construct a wall this sturdy? The answer lies in bricks made from clay, fired for hours in kilns until they hardened, bricks roughly 4 times the size of the ones we use today. Before the walls went up, builders packed the foundation with granite stones, then layered the surface with fine clay-based mortar so invaders couldn't easily scale it. To bind everything together, builders used a mixture of lime and sticky rice paste. All in, construction used an estimated 500 billion bricks, which gives you some sense of just how much lime and rice paste went into holding this whole thing together. As for its dimensions, the wall typically stands around 23 feet high and 21 feet wide, though in some stretches it dips to just 9 feet, and in others it climbs to a towering 35 feet. That width wasn't random. It was built wide enough for 10 soldiers marching side by side, or 5 mounted cavalry riders to move quickly toward any point under threat. Railings ran along both edges to keep troops from falling and to shield them from enemy attacks. The wall is also dotted with openings, some believed to have housed catapults for launching projectiles at attackers below, others used by archers to fire arrows down at approaching enemies. Roughly every 100 meters, you'll find a tall watchtower, always manned by a soldier keeping watch over the surrounding land. If an enemy was spotted during the day, soldiers signaled danger with flags or bells. At night, they lit fires to pass the warning down the line. Beneath these towers were living quarters where up to 25 soldiers could eat, rest, and shelter. In total, the wall houses roughly 25,000 watchtowers, once home to an estimated 600,000 soldiers stationed along its length. Here's something else most people don't know. The Great Wall is riddled with hidden tunnels, reportedly used by soldiers to move quickly between sections without being seen. Only a select few ever knew the full layout. Even today, despite the Chinese government having mapped out many of these passageways, thousands remain unexplored, their entrances and exits still undocumented, quietly guarding secrets nobody has uncovered yet. And here's the twist that makes this whole story even stranger. Despite being massive, fortified, and centuries in the making, many historians consider the Great Wall an outright failure because it didn't actually stop China's enemies. In the 13th century, Genghis Khan, one of history's most feared conquerors, broke through the wall and invaded China anyway. Mongol forces crossed it again in 1550. Then, in 1644, Manchu soldiers breached the wall, marched into China, and overthrew the ruling dynasty entirely, ending the Ming dynasty and installing the Qing dynasty, which held power all the way into the 20th century. By that point, Mongolia itself had become part of China, meaning the wall had essentially lost its original purpose. That said, the wall did find new life during the Second World War, when Chinese forces used it to train troops and slow the advance of the Japanese army. All in all, the Great Wall of China holds an enormous place in Chinese history, and today it still draws more than 10 million visitors from around the world every single year. So that's the mysterious history behind one of the world's most legendary structures. What did you think of the Great Wall's story? And if you ever got the chance, would you want to walk it yourself? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos just like this. And hit that bell icon so you never miss one. Thanks for watching.